the state of Missouri, now Mississippi as well, taking on China over coronavirus. The states are alleging China did not do enough to stop the outbreak. We know the facts. Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmitt calling it a campaign of deceit. Joining me right now is the Attorney General of Missouri, Eric Schmitt. And Mr. AG, it's good to have you this morning. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Walk us through this lawsuit. Our audience knows how China downplayed the virus, how they cornered the market for protective equipment. I just went through a whole litany of things that they did in terms of buying 2 billion masks in January, even though that they are already the producer of the half of the world's capacity. All this, vacuuming up all the protective equipment while they were downplaying the coronavirus. Exactly what are you alleging? Tell us about your lawsuit.
Yeah, I think those factual allegations in the complaint, which are the first time they've really been laid out like that, are really important. And what we know is that the Chinese government engaged in a campaign of deceit and deception, of misrepresentations, of malfeasance in really critical weeks in the months of December and January, when they were aware that this disease, this vicious virus, could be transmitted human to human. And valuable time was lost. All the while, they're hoarding quality PPE. China went from being a net exporter of PPE to a net importer of PPE during this time. And it was really avoidable. This could have been prevented. Millions of people went through Wuhan, not many to mainland China from Wuhan, but around the globe. And in a worldwide global pandemic like we've never seen has really been unleashed. And no corner of the globe has been spared, including my home state, where you have 6,000 incidents, 200 deaths, lives disrupted, jobs lost, gone, entire industries right now on hold, people living paycheck to paycheck. And so the nature of our claim is essentially that because of China's actions or their inactions, Missouri has been damaged to the tune of tens of billions of dollars. We have our state legislature coming in next week trying to craft a budget for next year. There are hundreds of millions of dollars worth of withholds for this year's budget. And you have families who have lost the ability to put food on the table. And the human toll here of people being separated from loved ones, losing loved ones, not being able to see loved ones in nursing homes or go to funerals, it's immense. And so my job as the state's chief legal officer is to hold them accountable, the people who are actually responsible for all this, and that's the Chinese government and other Chinese authorities.
But the Chinese government lies to everybody, and the communists just continue to do what they want. Right now, the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, wants an investigation into those biochemical labs. We knew that that this virus came out of that lab. We've been spotlighting that on this program for months. Now, the Secretary has named specific World Health Organization regulations that China signed up for and then just ignored. Pretty damning, but are we really going to be able to see China held accountable? Why are you confident you can win this?
Well, this is really the first salvo. I think you're going to see other states. You referenced Mississippi. I'm confident there may be more that join suit here. And ultimately, this is about getting to the truth. This is about holding them accountable. And in our lawsuit, and this is a very important point because some people might say, well, they're a sovereign nation and they can't be sued. Really important part of our complaint is that there are exceptions to that Federal Sovereign Immunities Act, and one of which is the commercial activities exception. So if you're a country engaged in commercial activity, you don't get that benefit, right? And so the hoarding of PPE, the running of a hospital system, the virology lab that was noted that you referenced, all those are commercial activities that fall outside of that those protections. And I'll also note that in our complaint, which is different, we've also named the Chinese Communist Party and other various non-state actors. And all of this, we believe, provides an avenue for relief for Missourians and a template for other states who want to bring suit to hold the Chinese government accountable for their malfeasance here.
Yeah, look, I think it's an admirable move that you're doing for the people of Missouri, but I just don't know if you're going to be able to hold China accountable and if they're even going to care. I mean, don't they have sovereign immunity? Do you have standing to even sue China right now, even in American courts?
We do, and that's what we allege in our complaint. And I referenced that exception. The one exception there that I think is really important, which is the commercial exception, or the commercial activity exception to the Federal Sovereign Immunities Act, which is a defense, right? So our claims of a public nuisance and negligence that we allege against the Chinese government and various authorities for unleashing this worldwide pandemic that has affected Missourians' day-to-day lives, death, human suffering, all of those injuries that we allege in the complaint, by the Chinese government, other various authorities, the Communist Party of China, engaging in that commercial activity, the hoarding of PPE, going from a net exporter to a net importer. All of those activities allow us an avenue for relief here. And that's why we believe that this is meritorious.
Real quick, as we conclude here, how much money are you looking for? What are the total number of damages that you're looking at? And secondly, on a broader look at China, we're supposed to have a partnership with the second largest superpower, America and China. How do you recommend this country go about partnering with China on some things, but doing it with our eyes open, knowing that they will steal, they will lie, and they will cheat? I mean, look, the bottom line here is that we are looking at a country that has done this over and over again. And I don't know, I mean, look, they're supposed to be buying $250 billion of commodities and such from that phase one deal. I'll tell you right now, I doubt they're going to buy it. I'm going to stick my neck out right here, and I'm going to say I doubt China is going to keep that deal in place. The president keeps saying it. Well, we'll see if they buy the $250 billion. They're not going to do it. Do you think they're going to do it, AG?
Well, the way they're responding to this lawsuit, which again is more information and deceit, doesn't give me a lot of confidence. And I think there's reporting actually now recently about Chinese agents perhaps trying to stoke fear of the pandemic with a national shutdown. There's a lot of things happening in the background.
That's
in our
right.
complaint.
There's that too. Yep.
And to your first question, we're alleging tens of billions of dollars in damages. We have a preliminary estimate of $44 billion to the state of Missouri alone, and we feel that the blame ought to go right to the feet of the Chinese government, where all this started, and the misinformation, not telling the world about the human-to-human transmission when they were aware of it, the hoarding of PPE, further endangering lives. All of this is a cauldron of malfeasance that the Chinese government is responsible for.
All right. Eric Schmitt will be watching the developments. This is really important, and we will be certainly watching. AG Eric Schmitt, good to see you, sir. Thank you.